Nightbreed. It is impressive.
Clive Barker, David Cronenberg, that's pretty gruesome twosome right there.
The costuming, the puppetry involved is really seamless. There's a lot of value that goes into the production. It also is kind of like the bad side of having so much value.
What's kept in.
Yeah, what's kept in, what gets the cutting room floor.
This often happens in this movie. They're just like, shut up, old man, I'm doing it anyways.
Yeah, stab, tell me about Midian. The old man's just, nah.
Fine.
Okay, there's no script. It's just like, here is vision. Alright, now I'm human again. I had to like switch gears in how I approached and watch this. This should be more like Transformers. I should not care about the plot and the emotional beats.
It gets very lost in the sauce.
Hello everyone. Welcome to
Narrative
Nonsense.
Nonsense.
Wow. I'm Jordan. Who is this?
Some guy.
Some guy.
I'm Connor.
Good old Connor.
The resident Jesus wannabe.
Oh yeah. We are friends talking about random and recent stories, newsworthy or otherwise. This week, oh boy, we're talking about Nightbreed, 1990.
Clive Barker, David Cronenberg, cool thing.
Yeah, very cool thing. And then, before we get to that, we have like our weekly summary recap. What are some good news from this last week? What are we up to in our lives? And then we have
our last week tonight and this week's stories and holidays.
Yeah, and then oh boy, the holidays, man. I feel like lately we must have like hit a dry spell during the summer, because it's something where it's like, all right, we're really scratching the bottom of the barrel. It hit fall, and then suddenly there's like 27 every Monday. So that's what we're up to. But yeah, starting with this last week, Connor, how have you been?
There's a lot of work. We hit a sale, and so like the breakdown on this is like I was like week 1, like 3. I think it was like Wednesday of week 1 was like the sale didn't start properly, but like obviously like we're getting ready before the sale starts.
Yeah,
proper.
you prepare for war.
So that was like a big hit, and then we've been in the sales. We've been working a lot of like overtime just because like a lot of us here, like my 2 like main bosses probably have like 3 weeks more experience than me on the job.
Yeah, they're very new.
So
I've been there since 2019.
We were really hammering out the process, and in the first week we were really changing a lot of things.
Yeah.
One thing that was nice this week is one of our scissor lifts stopped working as far as going up, which so it's basically useless at that point.
Yeah, it's a go-kart.
And I was like, and the other scissor lift was in use, so I'm like, and I've driven forklifts before, but they only have stand-up forklifts. I'm used to a sit-down like Toyota style one with a steering wheel. Yeah. And I just kind of got in it. Like we did have a conversation at one point of like, you know, if you know it, cool, you got it. Like, you're cool, we trust you. But like, I didn't really add. I was just like, it needed to happen. Like there was like, I can't get the other forklift guy to just drop stuff because it's not work. But either way, so it was a bit of overtime, but it'll be nice on the paycheck. And then
and my goodness, it's because I do a lot more on like the back end stuff in operations, and it was crazy going into it, and we're like, it was so very therapeutic to have that conversation, just talking about like all the craziness of what's happening at work after we played D&D on Friday.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, we just got a moment to just get it off of our chest for a bit, because it's the 2 of us, and then one of the players in my D&D game, Nick, he also works there, but in customer service. So we have 3 different like pillars of the reality infinity gauntlet. Yeah, so that was something that made a big difference.
Outside of work, it was mostly just really this this current or this last weekend, I guess, for you guys. We started watching I started watching the new Cyberpunk series. I think it's Edge Runners on Netflix with the other 2 roommates, because we ran out of it. We were watching Venture Bros. We watched all that, ran out of that, so we were trying to find the new thing to start. So that was really good. Went climbing on Saturday. Rough session, but a good one.
Dying but progress.
Yeah, I felt really good on fitness. My toes are getting somewhere. Like I was able to pivot around a lot more on some really bad holds, and I currently don't have my own shoes, so doing that on rental shoes was a really big deal to me. Yeah, so that was really nice. But it was It was a long week, but it wasn't a bad week. Like,
yeah,
especially on the forklift thing,
it's a lot
faster.
of like
I can get a lot more. Well, it was good. Like, there was a lot of progress because like on the scissor lift, it takes way longer. So I felt really nice that it was like I was really able to like plug a lot of holes this week.
Yeah,
and I felt like that was just the running theme of like all of it.
Like it's not. It no longer has no end in sight.
Yeah.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I just feel like I finally hit that point of like, okay, I'm somewhat confident that like what I'm doing is affecting things and I'm actually being a presence that's helping, which was nice.
Yeah. That honestly, it's hugely important for any work that you do. If you feel like you matter, 10X's.
It also really helped. We use a lot of temp workers just because we don't always have the capacity for that many people to be working and doing something, but like we got a really solid group of temps going and they're as themselves like a little quartet are very solid of like they're independent on their own. Like I don't really have to direct them a lot. Like they're very
micromanage not required. Yeah. Makes a good person.
We had some others that weren't so great, but we ran them off very quickly. And so that was nice.
Yeah. No, that's honestly, it's fantastic. I'm so thankful we're making progress with all the work craziness. For me,
definitely getting the amount of outstanding orders down. That's been very positive.
That's so important. Oh my gosh. So on my end, work's busy, and then there's been a little bit of like busyness outside. My sister moved into her new home on Saturday, and then
she into a house proper.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like ranch style, one-ish, one floor home. Yeah. Kind of out in Arvada.
Heating and stuff though.
Yeah. And it's an older build. I want to say it was 1970 or something that it was built. So
my childhood home was like that. So
yeah, and
I always really liked it.
And a large chunk of the walls are brick. So like heating, cooling, whatever you do, it likes to stay.
Yeah, it sticks nicely.
Yeah. So Wednesday she officially closed, had all the paperwork. So we all went there. We had some ice cream cake because it was also sibling's birthday. So
I'm the only I don't like ice cream cake.
Oh, I love it.
I hate biting into ice cream.
I love ice cream cake because it's I won't chew it really. Like I think that's something that most ice cream cakes you can it skirts that edge of do you actually chew or do you get away with it? I think I for the most part can get away with it.
I just end up like dividing it. Like we may as well just have ice cream and cake at this point for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not like you're stupid or an idiot if you like ice, but it's just like it's like mochi.
Sure.
I just cannot operate this food apparatus.
It's the same thing for me with like boba. Like boba exists and I'm like, okay, cool. We get like a fisheye popping effect. I don't like it.
Have you ever tried instead of the boba proper, the gelatin like shreds that you can get at some places?
I don't think so.
Yeah, if you ever see that, that's like, and so instead of the tapioca, you get little like chunks of like gelatin kind of. You might try that sometime.
Huh.
It's better with like the fruitier kinds though.
That feels like
I don't know how much of a Jell-O guy you are though.
I don't mind Jell-O. To me, I feel like if there's Jell-O in my drink, it would feel more like pulp, and I'm not a fan of pulp. But pulp, like, actually will get stuck in your teeth. I don't think gelatin would have that problem.
It's a lot closer to boba in that way, where it's like it's more of a chewy thing that it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Either way.
Interesting. So yeah.
We'll get some boba sometime here.
All right. So, sister moved. Brianna's now in a house with her boyfriend.
Streams this week.
Streams.
Did you guys do Kingdom Hearts or
no? We took a break because of the whole house closing thing for her. Celebrations, cake, ice cream.
John's also got a lot going on too. He's fucking killing it out there in life.
Yeah, and then Tuesdays have been very fun. We've been doing a lot of Fall Guys, which is just it's great hop in, hop out fun where we're talking with each other the majority of the time, just catching up. We have a friend of ours named Kylie who is currently out in Florida. So we're like, hey, you good? And she's like, yeah.
Do you know what part roughly? Is she like closer to the like bigger landmass or is she more towards like the beaches?
I think she's on the other side of Florida from the Atlantic. Like the Gulf side. I think that's where she is. I don't actually remember.
Is she in the like toe proper or is she more like Tallahassee-ish?
I want to say it's that. I could be wrong. I don't remember in entirety. I just know that I checked in on her like throughout the week and was just like, haha, here's some funny hurricane TikToks. So like, yeah. And the response was like, like there was a tortilla wind test where someone took a tortilla and just threw it, and you just got to watch it sail away, way off into the distance.
Watching the guy throw a frisbee over the, what's the big waterfall? Niagara Falls.
Sure. And it just keeps going. Yeah. Just and back. Very similar to that with the tortilla, where it just was catching air. It was properly sailing, gliding.
We use tortillas for so much, like the tortilla slapping thing. Yeah, I love how that's become the thing now.
So I sent that to her, and she's like, the wind hasn't been picking up hardly strong enough for me to even do the test. I'm like, fair enough. Okay.
Hey, good
That's all I needed to know.
Good problems.
And then internet blinking and rain. Yeah. That's, I think, the extent that she said.
Yeah, that was it. Honestly, it's kind of been around here too. The internet's getting a lot of rain.
Yeah. Speaking of which, this next week here, supposedly we'll get a little bit of rain. There's definitely clouds throughout the week, and
that would be really nice.
It's going to be grazing, or it's under 70 degrees Fahrenheit, like the whole way through.
I hate that's the extent. Rain with no cloud coverage and the road just becomes a freaking mirror. I can't see anything. I'm just like,
yeah. So, yeah, that's local news. As far as like uplifting news, as far for the week proper, get our groove in, some good old optimism, all that jazz. The first thing we were talking about is here in Colorado as well. It would be the Greenback Cutthroat trout,
which fish.
Yes, it is the state fish. It was thought to have gone extinct like way back in the 1930s, and then they thought that they found more of it in I had 3 different years, like 57, 65, and 70. They thought that they found more of them, but it turned out it was just like a closely related trout. It wasn't the true Greenback Cutthroat trout in particular. In 2012, this is when we properly found out, no, there are still some. It's like 3.5 miles up Bear Creek or something like that. People and like, these scientists, preservationists, it's something where they ended up having to like hike all the way up each year and get the fish equivalent sperm and eggs to, try to conserve as much as possible. And they've been doing as much like breeding on the outside. In 2016, they introduced them to Herman Gulch, and it's something where they're now finally like properly making a full-on repopulation. They don't have to be continually reintroduced. They're just self-propagating now. That succeeded. They're still trying to put it into other places, different streams and the like, but the trout is there and it's thriving. It is less likely to be extinct because we've done it. We fixed it. So that was great news for Colorado. In terms of like that long scale kind of look at things, this is bigger scale for the U.S. as a whole. Child poverty is down 59% since 1993, which is really, really cool. There's a couple of reasons for this.
Kids can get good jobs these days.
So there's a couple of reasons for this. In terms of like what that metric looks like, it was previously 1 in 4 kids. Now it's like 1 in 10 kids. So big difference. In 2009, there's kind of a change in how we measure or how we add to the statistic. Before 2009, when we checked for who's in poverty, we didn't really account for any aid that they were getting. So if it's something where, if poverty line is, I'm throwing out a number because, I don't know it off top of head, but if the line is at 10,000 and they're earning 8,000, they would count as being in poverty. But if they get like another 5,000 in aid, they're brought up above that line. We weren't counting the 5,000 that they were getting in aid. We were just saying they're in poverty and called it a day. In 2009, we changed that. So we are seeing that there is government assistance, like making that difference, that bridge in the gap of who counts as being in poverty, who isn't, that previously we weren't measuring. So that, that's for those that want to nitpick why that number might be a little bit misleading, that would be part of it, is we changed how we define it because we're doing a lot more of that assistance. And then on the subject of that assistance, it's something where as time has gone along, we've put more funding into it. It's something that, which is really great, is applying across the board. It's not something that's minorities only, just a bunch of white people are no longer in poverty.
Yeah.
Everybody is now less likely to have a child in poverty, which is great.
I will also certainly say, I would assume, I don't know how recent all this came from, but with the amount of jobs out there and things paying a lot better around here.
Yes.
I imagine that is also at least a chunk of it.
Yeah. So parts that aid to that, we don't have nearly as many single mom type scenarios. Uh-huh. So there's more families, 2 incomes coming in to help with that. We also have, what was another thing that, because, there's so many factors that go into a difference like that. It's about 30 years almost, of difference. I don't like that idea.
Part of that too is, I imagine, at some extent, some generational stuff of just differences in how we have kids and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. So people that do have kids, they either don't have as many kids, so it's less of a strain, and it's also you have more family units, so there's a mom and a dad, and either one or both are working rather than earlier. Well, especially with remote stuff, I bet that helps us a chunk here
job availability a little bit.
Just because you can be home and somewhat attentive.
Yeah, there's different ways of earning income, so lots of factors. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Good news
but
all around.
Yeah, the ultimate key thing is child poverty is down, and it's increased. It's decreased quite significantly in some states more than others. The one they used in their example, I think you would really enjoy, is West Virginia.
I'm sorry, what?
West Virginia.
What's that?
Made a very large leap in not having as much child poverty.
Convenient.
For those unaware, West Virginia does not exist. It is the only state with West in the name.
It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that what they say it is not what it is. It is a crack in the ground where the lizard people, Illuminati lizard people come from.
The Freemason, mafia tied Yakuza.
That's where they started and came out of.
Yeah, it's all of the social engineering. It's the the Garden of Eden from Assassin's Creed. It's those folk. they have one of those, the Adam apples, whatever they call it in Assassin's Creed.
The apple of
is it just Apple of Eden?
I think it's Eve.
Okay,
I want to say.
I don't know. It's been a long time. I know that series has a lot of lore.
3. I did play Black Flag just because the ship stuff seemed
people
cool.
loved Black Flag. I remember that.
The actual pirate game, I think it's called, I want to say it's Skull and Bones or something, is supposed to be coming out soon, but Ubisoft being Ubisoft, it's been the thing. Anyways.
So yeah, child poverty down quite a lot. There was also technically unrelated for this in particular article, but worldwide poverty is something down from, it was 85% in the 1800s, and now it's 9%. So overall, that's a very large gap. It makes sense that poverty is down quite a significant margin.
It was really funny scale. In Canada. I think for 4 years, I was technically counted as impoverished for tax purposes. I came in under the poverty line, which was a very funny news to me. My mom's like, "Yeah, you're under the poverty line, so you're fine." I was like, "Oh."
I didn't know
I was impoverished.
Yeah. Okay. So carrying on from that to other workish kind of related things, in the to be announced when it'll reopen, but we have a lot of faith that it shall. Casa Bonita has just had a whole chunk of its.
The food's not getting any better, just for the record.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to find out. But possibly helping in that. They had 29 employees of theirs go through language certification. They took classes, so some of them are doing Spanish to English and likewise English to Spanish. So better cross-team communication.
Absolutely.
It's something where they mentioned that this was something that brought them together a little bit more like a family. It's a lot easier for them to work better as they understand, because some of the examples they gave were, like 2-3 years ago, they came from like Nicaragua or the like, and it's something where they knew some words in English, but now they have a better idea of like how verb conjugation and function works within the sentence for English, those kinds of things, those technical skills. As far as like how much went into this, it was a 4-month program, 16 weeks, and it's 32 classes that they ended up taking. Like, it is you guys are being paid to like go take a semester or a quarter in class, go do your thing. And then, a lot of them, 29 certified, a lot of them are saying that they will continue to look at that cross linguistic barrier, teaching in classes that are available, through whatever nonprofits. One of the things with that is it is still very much being something that's encouraged, and there are nonprofits like the Colorado Restaurant Association and the Hispanic Restaurant Association that are advocating, pushing, trying to spread awareness of cross-language programs, just so that people can get a little help with that. And honestly, I think it makes all of this better. If they were saying, if you need to communicate as one of the chefs to the line cook, and you have a linguistic challenge that you have to overcome,
especially in a restaurant situation.
Yeah, like
cranking food out.
Yeah, that's something where the more communicative of what needs to happen between the two, the better it can be. That's something where it's like, yeah, theoretically the food could still be terrible, but it could get better, or at least more precise, more accurate.
It's not
what it needs to be.
Terrible. It's not.
The churros are the best. Like,
yeah, the sopapillas.
Oh churros. Yeah. You can't go wrong.
I would just say, like, great. Maybe like eat before you. I'm not telling you, but like maybe have a snack.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's been Casa Bonita of the past. It's still owned and running by the South Park people. We're gonna see how the relaunch opens. They haven't given any updates on that, but the fact that they are actively making strides with their employees, we will
be there on the scene when it does.
Sooner than later.
I promise.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Honestly, it might go so far as we hunt down our friend John and say, hey, you need to come back from Texas. Casa Bonita is open again. Because he had a goal before he moved to Texas saying, I must go to Casa Bonita. And then COVID shut it down. And then he moved and he was like, well, I'll never see it again. And then it was announced that they were getting bought out, and we may see the revival of an icon, truly.
In true Colorado knows.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. So that's Casa Bonita. Going even bigger than that, over in India, this was something that was really cool. They have discovered or developed, I think would probably be the better word, a cervical cancer vaccination. Oh. Now, how this works is it's kind of a technicality thing, because I looked into it. I'm like, all right, how does this work? How does this prevent cancer? How does that play in? I had a
similar thing when I got down here. I had a cancer vaccination.
Yeah. And so what it is in this case is, oh, by the way, we are very much pro vaccinations. Yeah. I'm just going to throw it out.
I didn't even know what that whole I was just like, stab me with that needle, please.
So on the subject of the cervical cancer vaccination, they found that it's about 90% effective. The way that it's effective, it's kind of technically, from my understanding, an HPV vaccination. And
so it's more like the things that can lead
that will cause that cancer, like very 1-for-1. It's something like there were a lot of 90% thrown about, so I don't know how much like rounding, up to down, down to up there is, but it was saying like 90% of cervical cancer cases are HPV related in some form or fashion.
Okay.
And then adding to that, something like 90% of cervical cancer issues are happening in lower mid-income countries, places where they're not as well to do. The thing that's really special with this particular thing is we do have some HPV and cervical cancer vaccination and treatment methods. But the problem is that the dosages are coming internationally and are like $35 for each thing. With this, it sounds like the cost to produce it is like $2 to $5.
Very nice.
That's translated over from Indian
rupees.
Rupees. I was gonna say rubles, but that's Russia, isn't it? Yeah, I think so it's translating over from rupees. In terms of rupees, it was something like 70 some odd. But it could be a potential big game changer for the people that need it the most, the low to mid income countries, because before they might have just been outright priced out from being able to access the medication needed. So that's something that's a big deal. Very excited to hear the news, and hopefully we get to see that implemented sooner than later. I know that they had some stats on like how many. There's been a couple of doses for younger kids. There's been doses for some that are older, like our age range type of thing. So yay! Go team. Carrying on from that, jumping back here to Ohio. This was an interesting one. It has some twists and turns. There is with Homecoming, you have your Homecoming royalty court.
Yes, I went to Homecoming. It was great. I know what you're talking about. Yes,
I did. I was a prince.
I'm very happy for you. That's awesome.
It was cool. I still have the ribbon. So with Homecoming, there's Homecoming royalty. And over in Cincinnati, Ohio, at this high school, there was a trans princess that was voted in. Now, the part that takes the little bit of turn is it may have very well been tied to a prank where a lot of people were like, oh, would it be funny if, and started getting people to vote for this trans person named Cass into being Homecoming royalty. However, it may not necessarily be all orchestrated as a prank. There were some people that were genuinely very supportive, excited, that kind of thing. And
what if it was the double prank where someone's like, man, wouldn't it be so funny? Like, haha. Like,
and then they double down on it. Like,
but they were really just like, I just want to do this because it's good. And I'm like, but a way I could get people to do this is to be like, oh, wouldn't it be so funny though? Like,
and then they're like, yes, we've done it. We're orchestrating it. So yeah, Cass initially, and rightfully so. I mean, it feels bad if you're disingenuously put into some place just to be made fun of. I mean, like the movie Carrie goes into that. It's something that everybody has been there. They don't want to feel propped up just to be made fun of. And it's something where Cass initially was, fairly reasonably disappointed by it, but she took it in stride. It's something where she very much said, you know what, I can make history with this, and I'm very hopeful and very
take this back as my own thing.
Yeah, like I'm gonna absolutely own it. You know what? Fine. I have been voted in.
I am the princess.
Give me the crown. We're in it now. So that's something that I think takes a lot of not just bravery, but understanding. I think is a great word I would use. Like, hey, you know what? This is the situation.
It's a lot of long-term thinking for somebody of that age that I definitely would not have been capable of.
Yeah, as a sophomore in school, having a lasting impact and thinking about, okay, what does this mean for my community as a whole? I think that's very mature of them.
And it's like very like Tyrion Lannister-esque of like the whole like, know what you are, wear like armor. No one can ever use it to hurt you. Yeah. Like very much just taking that and
I will nod as if I completely understand. I haven't watched Game of Thrones. Forgive.
Tyrion is a dwarf, so he's often made fun of for that. So that's kind of his like thing to Jon Snow, who's a bastard child. That's like his thing. Like,
they give each other
nothing wrong with that.
The pep talk of be who you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, Cass is carrying it in stride. So shout out to Cass out in Ohio.
Big Cass kicking a lot of Cass.
Big Cass.
Assumptions to the curb.
Oh. And carrying on for LGBTQ plus news, in what I think is one of the most entertaining, not loopholes, but just like life exploit things, I guess. I don't know how to phrase it.
Smart stuff.
The smart stuff. The strats. The top 10 IQ plays. Out in Utah, there are no citizenship requirements for issuing marriage certificates. You can get married in Utah. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter where you are. And doesn't really matter who you are. And there has been a growing trend of folks internationally, and in this case in particular, the examples were from China specifically, where you have same-sex couples that are zooming in to get married officially through Utah to get their marriage certificates. Now, what's really funny with it is and absolutely congratulations. There's a lot of work and effort, as we kind of like found out about. In order for something like this to happen, over in China, it's a mix of both illegal and censored to be a same-sex couple. Like, same-sex is something that is just not seen because it's censored as as a combo of words. It's got a dash, one word. There's a weird blurry line for if it's one word or if it's two when it's hyphenated. So same sex, that's one of those things. The word lesbian, gay, those are things that are kind of like shadow banned everywhere. And in order for folks to get married out there, like out in it's in Hong Kong, they have a weird mix of rules, which is where
its own country.
City-state-ish thing, but it got reverted back to China, but they do a lot of self-governance underneath China. So in that sense, it's illegal for same-sex marriage. However, you can get married elsewhere. This is something that's kind of unique to Hong Kong's situation. You can get married elsewhere and still get the benefits of being a married couple, even if that certification came from outside of the country. So that's something that people in Hong Kong are doing, is they get married and then they have, all the like living tax benefit things of being married. They just can't get married in their own country. So that's something where they have to like work around a little bit to get the same benefits that any other couple would. And then to add to it, because words are censored, it's something where like wedding organizers have to skirt around it by using like coded language just to advertise their willingness to do business with it.
I really hope like some of this is like using emojis or something.
Right. It's just like,
not to make light of this, but
like eggplant or something.
Yeah.
Honestly,
oh my God.
Like eggplant probably is censored out there too, or peach, because it's taken on its own.
Well, they nerfed the peach now because we can't have any fun.
Yeah, we can't have nice things.
You just can't have fun,
Oh no. So
people don't know.
So the thing that's cool with it is something that is working, and people are they're getting married, and there was one person that even went so far as saying, like, finally we're married, we feel so much closer in our relationship because of this, and we hope that one day we might be able to like marry in China itself once those laws will hopefully eventually change.
I feel like a lot of it too, like you can always do some kind of like broom hop-esque thing to like, you love this person, you're married, but like the aid on like the tax stuff has got to, and just being for hospitals, like there's a million things that go along with being officially married that are just got to make your life so much
the paperwork part really eases some of the burden and trouble, and it makes sense that it makes the relationship closer. So that was something that was really, really cool to see. And then like going into the statistics of it, because that's what I like, from May 1st to September 20th of this year in particular, over in Utah, there were 77 different couples that ended up getting married. And this is something that's been in an upward trend. I know one of the officiators, they went online 2019. They're like, yeah, well, we're totally happy to do stuff over the internet if we need to. 2020 happens. I mean, everybody, especially in Utah, but everybody was online. And then it's something where that kind of expanded on. It started as just like people in Utah, people outside of Utah, people outside the US. Okay, like a ton more international folk. Like it just kept growing and growing. And it doesn't look like there's any sign of stopping. So very, very cool. Very exciting.
Same-sex couples won. Winnie the
Pooh. Got him. And then for holiday things, in the same spirit of relationships, it's Boyfriend Day. So shout out to boyfriends out there of whatever coupling you might be.
Hashtag not me.
Yeah, not one day.
It's all about
we might be boyfriends. Yeah, not to one another, but to somebody who wants it.
Well, I mean, you're always my beau.
Yeah.
In a strictly platonic sense. Well,
strictly platonic, at least from my end. Look, there's always...
you can't sit next to this and not be just a little bit, just...
Right? So some of...
you seen this man dance?
I think some of my favorite, quotes is...
Also, are you saying I'm ugly? Is that what
No. Hold on. There's I forget if it's just John or if there's some other people that said, an indicator of a good relationship between guys is if there's a little bit of homoeroticism involved. There has to be a little bit of that kind of dick measuring, level of we're crossing boundaries that otherwise would not be.
We say we're fighting with our lightsabers. That's not what we're talking for the world.
Yeah. No, we have lightsabers. I'm nerdy enough that we literally...
We are man-children.
But yeah, so happy Boyfriend Day, everybody.
That really went away.
And then... if you might have some of that high school drama in you, there's another great holiday. Connor, do you know what this Monday is? What the date is?
Oh, the 3rd?
It's October 3rd. For all of those that have seen the movie Mean Girls, it is Mean Girls Day. we will get to him at some point, but one of the best moments in that movie. It's so very fun. Going down even further on the holiday rabbit hole, we have a shout out for our roommate because it is Kevin Day. So let's go Kevins. It's also Techies Day. It's World Architecture Day. If you want to go out and appreciate just the sheer variance that we have in how we build things. I mean, goodness, there's so much fun variety, pyramids, temples all across the world. It really is very cool. And then you get to even the day-to-day stuff. Like a suburb here in the States looks incredibly different to what a suburb might look like in Europe, in Germany, much less France, much less Italy, much less
especially
so on and so
with
forth.
All the new condos and stuff, some of those
are
crazy.
Yeah. And then we get to add to it, we had, we talked about an article a while ago about how we're 3D printing buildings with plastic, not just the concrete method that takes a little bit longer, is a little bit less energy efficient. So we get to see how that, hopefully it's something where because of how quick it happens, we get to see a lot more cool customization printed buildings. Oh man, world architecture is awesome, and it just keeps expanding on how cool we can make things. And then finally, the last of the bunch, it is Consignment Day for those that are thriftier. If you need to get some used, inherited pieces, articles of clothing.
Number 1 world's best mom t-shirts.
Yeah.
Be ironic because you're funny like that.
It is Consignment Day, so go to a consignment store or shop, what have you.
Really, look out for the you can get any. The one for me was always ice scrapers, window scrapers, things to hold my phone.
Or if you need to get rid of stuff too, if it's something where you have too many of, or you're just doing a purge, you got to clean out your house, you're going minimalist, what have you. Look for a consignment store or donate for thrift shops as well. There's all sorts of options. So Nightbreed.
Nightbreed.
So it came out in 1990, and there's a lot. Filmmaking wise, it is impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
in a lot of ways.
Clive Barker, David Cronenberg. That's pretty gruesome twosome right there for just visual aesthetics.
The costuming, the puppetry involved with the costuming, because like in some places it's really seamless. Like it's just like, oh, that's a costume. Wait, hold on. Like there's a creature, a Nightbreed, where they have their stomach like in the middle of their belly, or their head in the middle of their stomach. Whatever I'm trying to say. This is down here, and it's something where you might look at it and just go, oh yeah, it's just a costume, but the face has to operate like. My human head is up here, but it's operating down here. There is puppetry happening, but it's so seamless. Like it's awesome. It really is cool. And then, because they did a lot of stuff out in Canada, they got a lot of
Calgary, Alberta.
Yeah, they got a lot of film breaks, so they got to really milk the production value.
It is weirdly Canadian in a lot of ways too. Like you can really
it's set
see
in Canada. There's a Canadian flag in the background.
It's like even in just the way people dress and are, and like
the plaid.
It's happening during Buffalo Days rodeo, and they have these crazy hats. It's like, checks out. Being a regular attender of the Asparagus Festival checks out.
So there's a lot of value that goes into the production. To an extent, it also is kind of like the bad side of having so much value in the production. We'll dive into that further, but
2 hours is movie, which may not sound that crazy. It's about half hour more than most films are, but
but it feels it.
Yeah. You notice that.
World building wise, it's fascinating. It feels like it has a very cool, very engaging concept that is well thought out in terms of the way that people operate in this setting.
A lot of that is due to this is based off of a book by Clive Barker called Cabal. I've not read it. I don't think Jordan's read it either, but I do know that.
But that's something where because you have a source material, you have that to work off of significantly. The editing is very like it's professional, cleanly done. It works very effectively. It's very well executed.
It's very seamless.
The choices in the edit as far as the storytelling.
Like what's kept in.
Yeah, what's kept in, what gets the cutting room floor. That we have a little bit more problem with, but editing wise, it does its job well in terms of there's a lot of different cinematic methods used. The camera work is incredible. Some of the effects for 1990 are very good. Like all of it's well put together. It's just the substance contained within that is interesting to dissect what does and doesn't work. And then acting wise, goodness, there are people all over the place that are just eating the scene. They're very campy in a good way.
This is a very, I would say, pulp horror movie.
Yeah, and I think the majority of the cast, like they do their job very well. I think of the like two main characters, between the guy and the gal does a phenomenal job. Like she takes up a lot of it.
Yeah, she kind of ends up being the protagonist in my mind, at least.
Yeah. And then you have one like side character that honestly steals the show. It's this dude that like goes full Jack Nicholson, Jim Carrey in every scene that he's in. Very, very silly and also very involved.
I feel like they just kind of let him do stuff and we're like, yep.
Yeah. Like, that's you. That's all you. You killing it. It was great. So, this movie as a whole, it kind of, to me, it feels almost like especially with the costuming and the acting, it feels like a love letter or homage-ish. And maybe this is like a grander takeaway for like carny folk or like people you would see at like the Oregon County Fair. Like, all right, here's a movie for the outsiders type of thing. And it does a very good job as far as the visual representation of what's going on. So that's the gist. I do think it's like brief summation thoughts. I think it's worth a watch. If you don't want to get spoils, now is the time. Spoiler warning. Get out of here. Go. 2 and a 1 and a... All right. So plot-wise, I think that this movie starts really well. It has a lot of elements of mystery and intrigue happening about it.
It kind of starts off as like a noir slashery kind of
a little bit, yeah.
You have the titular character, I believe, is a Moon. He's our main, the male protagonist of the series, and he has some kind of psychotraumatic thing going on.
He's going to therapy. It's something where when he talks to his therapist, he's like,
he doesn't seem to like too much.
Yeah, he has all of these like, I've had these dreams and visions of like murdering people, and it's very, very specific. And the guy's like, monsters. Oh, like these, and starts setting out photos. It's like, it's specific because it's real. This is happening. You are doing this. What are you crazy? Like, it becomes very gripping very quickly, and then. From there's a lot of like twists and turns and misleads and gaslights as
he kind of ends up that at one point his therapist Dr. Decker gives him some prescriptions.
Yeah,
as I believe they were supposed to be lithium. Mm-hmm. Which I am not a clinician or psychiatrist, so I don't really know what lithium treats or how it works. But it was not lithium.
Yeah, and it's something where he eventually makes his way like. In the midst of like talking to the day-to-day folk, to this hidden civilization Midian, which is kind of in a graveyard.
He is first hit by a truck.
Oh yeah, that also
happens.
Due
to the not lithium kind of just getting him in. And part of it is like, I don't think he was really, I think he just was feeling really guilty about all the stuff that was happening and being kind of gaslit. So gets hit by a truck, ends up in the morgue.
Yeah.
Or he ends up in a hospital.
He's getting treated because he was hit.
Okay, somehow.
One of the other patients at the hospital happens to be a Nightbreed. This is our like.
Well, he will become one. This is our Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Nicholson. Yeah. In terms of the functional storytelling, I think he's kind of the Obi-Wan, the mentor of the hero's journey thing, where he introduces like. There's a bigger world out there. Haha. Also, like, let me tear my own skin off.
Other person he's like, oh, Midian, and the main character seen in a dream. So he's like, oh, why are you talking about Midian? What will you do?
Yeah. So following that, dude rips his head off, like skin off of his head.
Yeah. He's everything that's not like here.
Yeah. There's an outline of face that's normal, and then this is kind of. I got
he's got a hair,
vibe,
kind of Mohican-y almost.
And it's got a little bit of like a scaly look to it, but it still looks like bloody grotesque.
Yeah, it's like muscle and veiny.
He still has
one
hair.
Of the best realized effects in the thing, but it is fun.
It's very unique, as it should be with Cronenberg. So going from there, he goes to Midian. He finds out about the Nightbreed, this secret. Cult of organization people city underneath the graveyard that has always been there and has been hunted through the ages. And
they're kind of pitched as the ones that like maybe what the Crusades were kind of about, I guess.
Yeah, or like the Salem witch trials, same thing where they were hunting down Nightbreed.
At one point, there's one that can kind of show you different parts of the past, and they show that, and those flashbacks I think are some of the best like sequences in this.
It looks really, really cool,
really gruesome, very like
the color, the sky is red with the burning and ashes and clouds of smoke.
In it, whether it's the monsters or the humans doing it, is very, very powerful.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
It honestly, it turns for just a moment into like a proper hellscape kind of thing. Like this feels like some dystopic book come real almost. It's really cool. It could be something that's like in Warhammer. Kind of thing.
Yeah. That is a very good comparison point.
Yeah. So going from that
point of comparison,
we kind of like reset and watch a lot of this stuff from the girl's perspective, because her boy, after finding Midian, gets shot to death, goes to the morgue, and it's now...
There's a bit of a fun fake out there where his therapist goes and confronts him there with the police and is like, oh, he's got a gun. He doesn't have a gun.
Yeah. Again, a lot of this like gaslighting-y type stuff. So the boyfriend has died. He's dead. He has no pulse. He's in the morgue. And they confirm it, and we get a lot of the girlfriend's perspective. Her boyfriend had died. And what we're shown is he's back to life.
Where did the body go?
Yeah, he makes his way back to Midian. People are saying, oh my gosh, this mass serial killer person.
The body was taken.
Someone stole the body. And she finds out, no, he like walked away and goes to hunt down Midian and try to like find the truth, or like, is this accurate? Is this not? She gets drunk on the way because she meets a girl at the bar. Yeah. Who becomes cannon fodder later.
Very unfortunately.
Yeah. And then she discovers Midian and the strange creatures within because she gets chased by the very same therapist who has been like gaslighting this guy into thinking he's a serial killer.
He's been stalking her around now.
Yeah. The therapist has been wearing this like fleshy mask
button eyes
thing. Yeah, there's this cool cut. It instantly recognizable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually own. I unfortunately with the move I don't have it with me now, but I actually own the mask from this movie because it's one of my favorites.
It's very cool. It very solid visual. He is actually the therapist is the actual serial killer and is about ready to kill her too. When the Nightbreed, while she's getting chased through the cemetery, have this big back and forth between undead boyfriend who's now like sworn into the cult, whether he's going to go and help her because I love her, and letting it happen because that's the way the Nightbreed are. And they mention
if they go out, it's going to expose them.
Yeah, this will come back to us. We will, it's prophesized. Midian will get destroyed.
As often happens in this movie, they're just like, "Shut up, old man! I'm doing it anyways."
Yeah, they completely ignore the cult leader, and like 3 or 4 of them end up going at it. There's before this, there's a moment that I think is really cool. Again, world building wise and getting us emotionally invested into the girl who's Laura, I think is her name.
Yeah, I believe so.
We get very interested in her emotionally because she sees this, again, puppetry work, great. This like shriveled up, almost like naked mole rat-esque looking thing,
shaved dog,
babe dog thing. Yeah,
that Full Metal Alchemist. It's almost like the little girl dog.
Yeah, and she sees it and is just like, oh my gosh. I mean, this thing looks like it could just snap in half at any moment. It looks so frail and helpless while it's caught in the sunlight. And someone like hiding underneath in one of the like mausoleums of the graveyard is just like, please, like, please bring her in. And she does. She, picks up this frail little thing, carries it in, and with the shade preventing the sun from striking its skin, this creature reverts back into a young girl. And we learn like the Nightbreed as a whole aren't really able to go into the sun much.
It depends.
Yeah.
Some can, some can't.
Yeah, in her case, it's like no, she will die. She would have died. It would be the end of her if she stayed out in the sun, but she wanted to play, or she's a little girl. She is just having a time.
This is also when the past kind of stuff is revealed to us.
Yeah,
the little girl. That's kind of her like Nightbreed abilities. She can.
Yeah. So the girl is the main girl, the protagonist character, Laura. She is very quick to be very accepting of these folk. I think a big chunk of it is, yes, she has this vision thing, and she's explained by this other lady that the Nightbreed, like, do you not have dreams of flying kind of thing? It's kind of a pitch of like, yeah, don't you want to be otherworldly? Don't you want to be something more? Which I think from a premise, yes, makes sense. In execution, a lot of the Nightbreed are grotesque.
Not really a win.
Some people, like, it feels like it would just be a detriment to your quality of life.
Aforementioned head.
Yeah, stomach head person. It's just like, okay, that's
just dying. I'm good.
That's just weird. For some people where it's like, okay, cool, you grow horns. All right. You're a porcupine lady. That just feels inconvenient.
Mac Night commercial.
Yeah, Moonhead. Oh my god. Like, oh, I'm so glad I have him like in the thumbnail because or like he's also in the poster, like night and day, pun intended. Like, just boy howdy. Yeah, Moonface. Some of these are quirky, and then some of these seem outright like this would be a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't want an eternity of this.
Yeah, there's some folks that are called berserkers. They're completely mindless, and it's like, why would I want that? I like agency,
and they're horrifying looking.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. So it's pitched as like we are superpowered in the way our roommate Marcus described this as kind of like a nightmare horror version of X-Men where they're the others, they're the good guys that are being ostracized by humanity, not liking the other in a way. Like that's kind of the gist, the vibe. It's just that it doesn't feel like there's a lot of pros to being a Nightbreed other than
it's a roll of the die. Sometimes, yeah. Okay, cool.
Super strength. Yeah. I can flippy.
I can die into bullets.
I can poof into smoke and do acid smoke breath things.
Yeah, like
it's cool.
It's great, but like that's a real.
It's a gambit. It's like a good 50-50. Like, oh, I hope you don't. I think
part of
fucked.
it too is like what you were in life is somewhat reflective of that as well.
So a lot of these people must have been real shitty. I don't know, like I don't know what they would have deserved. I mean, I don't know how inherently tied to it.
And that's we don't really talk about that too much. That's just something that like
it's implied. Maybe
I wouldn't even say that. That's just kind of an extrapolation. Like
So anyway, there's Midian.
If we read the book, it would help.
It might be just as simple as book movies tend to have some missing pieces. So. Yeah, girl boss gets eventually chased down by a serial killer person. Comes into this whole ordeal of things because her boyfriend intervenes, as well as some of the other Nightbreed folk. And from there, it gets real weird. They don't want to let her go.
Yeah,
but they don't actually want her to be there either.
Yeah, they don't want to make her a Nightbreed.
Yeah, because you have to be a Nightbreed if you're gonna like go down to the city proper, beneath the tombs and whatnot. But they don't want to let her go because the secret would be out, and whenever the secret's out, people are gonna come and mess them up.
Decker is kind of like projected as one of these persecutors. He talks about like breeders. He kills a family at the beginning, and then he seems to know something about the Nightbreed. I don't know if it's just like they're special, so he wants to kill him, like it's a hunter's thing, or he's always kind of known about them, or something.
Like whether this is he is a Nightbreed bounty hunter. A lot of the people that
know about it seem to be people that are like in the real world are perceived to have some kind of mental health issue, and he's a therapist, so he would be more exposed to that idea, I guess.
Yeah, it might be something where he's able to track down more victims because of therapy. Very sinister view of healthcare.
It's crazy because it's like he seems to realize that like no, these are actual monsters, but he doesn't let that on to any of his patients or anything. He just holds that for his own thing. Yeah,
he definitely gets a kick or a thrill out of being a serial killer.
It is kind of weird because it's like this weird like Michael Myers therapist versus like monsters.
Yeah.
It's
It's unconventional as far as how the antagonizing forces, one of them's turned out to be like, while it might be antagonistic looking in nature, it's actually protagonistic. It is a force of acceptance good that people don't take in depth. They only take it at face value as, oh no, they're monsters. Oh,
either way. So as we get lower down into the Midian proper in the catacombs, the main character Moon ends up going and talking to like their god, this guy Behemoth, I think. Sure. It's close to Baphomet, and he kind of looks like Baphomet.
Sure.
That's like the goat demon with the with left hand up and all that. And they talk about, like, he's trying to basically ask them about, like, what needs to be done with the whole Midian thing, because the problem is Decker got chased off.
Yeah, the serial killer
was not able to catch him.
Yeah.
So now the secret's kind of out, because he saw some of the Nightbreed.
He knows there are monsters in the cemetery
now.
And then he goes and he finds some, like, rundown gas station shop type thing. There's just some old man that's lived there forever.
It's like this is scrap shop.
Yeah, exactly. There's lots of characters like this where they're in the know about Midian. They know that there's, like, something more to it than it simply being a cemetery, but they only say
it's kind of the creepy old man gas station attendant type, but he's not, like, trying to get you killed.
Yeah.
He's actually protecting
he's looking
monsters.
out to people. Yeah. And Decker goes in as the serial killer and played by Cronenberg, which is just kind of cool.
Yeah, it is really neat.
He is like, hey, tell me about Midian. And he's like, there's nothing but dead folk there. Tell me about Midian. There's nothing but dead folk there. And then he's like, all right, very well, leaves, puts on the serial killer mask and everything.
Right
and
back in.
Comes right back in, ties him to a chair with his own Christmas lights that are kind of scattered throughout the shop. And he's like, stab, tell me about Midian. Tell me. The old man's just, nah.
Fine.
Okay. There's some people there. Okay, thank you.
Why do you want to kill them at all?
Yeah, they're monsters. They'll be cleansed or purged or whatever as such. Yeah, dirty breeders.
That is one thing, like, his, like, reason for doing it is not super... He has one line that he says, and I always thought it was probably the best line from the movie, where he's like, someone says, like, oh, you're a monster, and he just, like, kind of, like, has the little head tilt and just says, no, I'm death. Plain and simple. So it's like...
It's almost, Anton Chigurh-esque.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think it's because they don't die. So that's kind of his, like, thing with it. It's like, no, like, I'm death. I kill people. People die.
They must die. So, this is the circle of life.
Weird
just coming through.
Complex thing. I don't know. Something like that.
No, and I also think it's something where, like Anton Chigurh, you get, like, the sense that, okay, you're justifying it as being this force and you are acting as such, but there is some kind of deeper, complex thing that is a personal, emotional piece. I think that's something that, in his case, like, the fact that he wears this, like, fleshy mask-looking thing and goes about as a serial killer, I don't think it's ever explicitly said, but you could very well infer he does this to emulate being like a Nightbreed because there's some otherworldly thing and he low-key might be jealous of that fact. Like,
which is something that is brought up a lot. Throughout
world building wise, through visual world building wise, that really does just kind of like work so well. And it's very I watched a video with Mark Hamill talking about George Lucas and Darth Vader's entrance. And Mark said, you know, how come people don't acknowledge, like, oh, look, it's the Dark Lord of the Sith, and oh my gosh, he's such a baddie. And George's response was, oh, you know, he's wearing all black, stepping over dead people in a white hallway. The audience will get it. They'll get it. And Mark Hamill says, what economical storytelling? I think that's something that, ironically, there's a lot of economical storytelling where just by visuals alone, you get full depth to all these different people and characters. And it almost doesn't matter who they are. Like, we see Porcupine Lady for like 5 seconds, but we understand a lot of like what Porcupine Lady's shtick is in the moments we do see her.
I will definitely say the visual storytelling in this movie is a lot better than the actual like verbal and like full on expositional stuff.
Yeah, like the persecution, like the persecution vision flashback scene thing. Like, it looks like a hellscape. That's the emotion it's meant.
Really said in those moments. It's just things happening.
There's no script. It's just like, here is vision. We'll have fire. Kind of thing. Meanwhile, in actual plot, it's like, no, you can't do that. That's bad. Okay, well, I'm gonna do it. Oh, whoa. There'll be no here. Yeah, I'll watch and do nothing about it.
I think that's
but
one letdown of this movie is there is a prophecy, and this is kind of what Moon is supposed to
inherit.
He's this chosen one character.
Exemplify.
And I think where a lot of that, like the leader of the Nightkin is has very little agency. Like he just stands there and observes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I think my thought on it is he knows this is the prophecy and this is what's going to happen and how it's happened. So he's just playing his role in being
a great way
the center.
to put it.
But that isn't really explained by the movie. That's just kind of something I've extrapolated from watching it a lot. Yeah,
he feels very useless and very wish-washy a lot of the time, because later in the movie we get this moment where it goes to like all-out war between monsters and like cops and rednecks. The humans taking out the Nightbreed fighting back for their own agency. Some of the stuff, it's like, well, one of the rules is we can't be fighting. You know, we don't have weapons. And then everyone like rallies and grabs, you know, pieces of wood off of coffin doors to whack people with, kind of thing. Or, oh no, we can't release the berserkers, the most monstrous of us all. They don't have restraint. They'll kill without recourse.
It's like, well, we'll die if we don't do anything, so...
Well, I'm gonna open the door. Okay.
There's definitely a theme in this movie of, like, oftentimes making a bad decision quickly is better than waiting too long to make the right decision, I think.
Yeah.
Seems like a common thing where it's like, you need to act.
Yeah.
And this could be the repercussions, but it's that or
just
gotta die.
Yeah. Survival of the fittest kind of ish. Pieces,
which I think works very well with the monsters, because I think monsters are just naturally very bestial, instinctual. They should be
get in tune with yourself
in that way.
Yeah. So, girl, boss, and boy are out of Midian. They end up going. I'll be honest, I forget why. And this is something like in the middle of the movie. Gets a little bit weird for pacing, and some things are like drawn out, and then some things are kind of like skipped by. They leave Midian, they go to a hotel.
So kind of the pitch is here, I believe.
They're trying to find Decker, is the idea?
They're trying to get out, because Moon kind of pissed them off with the whole, like,
he gets like banished.
So they're like, whatever, and they're going back to her hotel or motel so that she can grab her stuff. But Decker's already been there.
And he's killed more people. And then the guy like goes into the bloodbath.
Most gross scene ever with a cream pie. If you watch this movie, there is a very disgusting scene with a girl eating a cream pie. And I'm talking a literal cream pie, by the way.
Yeah. This isn't
actually the grossest thing in the movie when you see it. But either way, so Decker leaves a bloodbath.
They're good at the grotesque. Decker leads a bloodbath. Moon walks in and licks some blood, and then just goes
breeder hungry for blood. And but it just seems, I don't know. It's a really weird scene. They need to get him away from Midian and in jail.
Yeah,
is the breakdown of
he's starting to turn monsterly.
Decker calls the cops in to frame him, and
it's not explained why he goes monsterly. Like he's starting to get like if you've watched Angel at all, he's starting to get like the face
very Angel supernatural kind of level looking monster.
Of demony-esque thing. And then
like
he just goes
kind of
he breathes.
And I just figure it's like the Hulk down moment. He has to calm himself down. And
so like spit out the anger.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm human again.
I
gets
really
arrested normally.
The book talks about that a little bit at some point, but I'm curious. Either way, they end up in jail.
They're in jail. There's a priest that's introduced that's also in jail for reasons.
Probably a more important character in the book that gets kind of brushed over. Is my assumption.
We're at this point, we're like 2/3 of the movie in. It's like, all right, there's a new character. And
I just got there.
The girlfriend and one of the other Nightbreed to try it,
Jack Nicholson wannabe and Babushka.
Yeah, the ghost vapor poison acid clouds. They go to break them out of this prison while Decker is convincing the cops, hey, you have to look into this. And then they find out evidence of like, oh, there are like Nightbreeder monsters and like the guy in prison has no pulse. Like he is living dead. And they go, oh, hell no. And they have the most American scene in Canada I've ever witnessed of them going through all the weapon descriptions.
I will say,
here's like a rocket launcher.
Canada these days has pretty strict firearms stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like back in the 90s.
1990. Exact.
Yeah, I got there in like 2014, 13. So a little different scene.
So they have the full like gearing up to go kill them montage that would normally
showing
be
off all this tactical guns.
Yeah,
all weird, like they have a rocket launcher,
and it normally would be for good guys. And it feels like the music is like doing the action movie like like gearing up for war type thing that would normally hype people up. But these are the villains as far as they've been demonstrated. Like it is implied a little bit that they're being manipulated by our serial killer friend therapist
Decker.
Decker.
It doesn't take much, though.
Yeah, it literally is just like oh no,
light push.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny in that regard. It feels like this weird mishmash of the let me suit up and get ready for it like superhero or action star montage with what should be more like Beauty and the Beast's kill the beast kind of it's mob grab the pitchforks.
It's the classical, man is the truest monster.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, they practically say that word for word at some point in the movie. Like
the trailer.
Oh yeah, it is in the trailer. Yeah. So they gear up for war. They get a guy out of prison and the priest. Or wait, the priest goes with the cops. Never mind. Anyway, they get him out of prison. They're like, oh my god, they're coming for us. We got to get everyone out of Midian. This is bad. This is real bad and stuff.
Real bad.
They start blowing things up. Serial killers. It murders Captain Panaka, the actor whose name I'm spacing, but that's who he is in Star Wars. He's been like an investigator. He just about like finds out / is shown by the serial killer that the serial killer is the serial killer, and he's doing some of this manipulation stuff. So just stabs. There goes Captain Panaka. It was sad. He almost had a redemption arc. So like it was on its way, and then just and then we get just a massive shit show of fire and firearms and blood, and
there's a lot of cool
acid.
Characters in this that don't get too much time to be explained, talked about, and a lot of that time seems to have gone to this battle. It's cool.
Yeah, it's 25 minutes.
On
and
I really like this movie, but like even I can't like defend it. It's just like
yeah, and there's a part in the midst of all of this fighting action fanfare where I need to take this movie less seriously, and I need to watch it as eye candy that happened to be from the 90s rather than something with a little bit more of an emotional impact and be having the investment in.
It's very much like a culty B movie.
Yeah, and the moment where I had to like switch gears in how I approached and watch this, and it kind of hurts that it took all the way to like the last 25 minutes of the movie to click it, is at some point in all of this fighting, the little girl that showed the vision to Laura, our main girl boss protagonist, at some point, this little girl is going to get shot. Like, she's getting hunted down, and girl boss human comes in and saves the Nightbreed from redneck guy. Like, absolutely stands up, protects. They have like a back and forth like argument about it kind of thing. And it happens for like 10 seconds. Like, it's so very quick. And then guy gets like hand through his chested, completely dead, and the acid smoke lady person gets her daughter back and is just like, oh my god, you saved her, or figurative daughter if it's not directly relational. I'm not sure where it falls on that line, but is given her daughter back and is like, oh, you saved her, thank you. It takes another 5 seconds. Meanwhile, in the same battle sequence, there's like 2 minutes of Porcupine Lady, like, leaning around the corner, just being like, yoo-hoo, Mr. Copper person, redneck guy, come get a little of this, scoots around the corner.
An Eiffel.
Ha 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 ha. And then Porcupine's in a person's face, falls over, he's dead now. But it takes forever. Like, it was at that moment, those two scenes next to each other, where I went, this should be more like Transformers, in that I watch it for what's happening in the very moment. I should not care about the plot and the emotional beats, because that's not what this is.
It's very much the minute to minute.
Yeah, and that was the part where I will say, for me personally, this movie took a peg or two down from being really good. Is there were moments like this throughout the entirety. It was that specifically where I personally went,
it gets very lost in the sauce in Act 3.
Yeah. So after this final battle and whatnot, we get a lot of convenient, crazy final escalation ending bits.
A lot of tying up loose ends.
Yeah, and a lot of, we get kind of a Lord of the Rings
in that way.
Yeah, we get kind of a Lord of the Rings endings problem, but without a trilogy to back it up.
Because you need the ending for, like, the Nightbreeds. They got, like, a lot of them evacuated to some random barn.
Yep. So they all leave. We have a one-on-one confrontation where Moon and Decker fight each other to the death, and our serial killer therapist,
decent action, a little too close for me, but
finally dies. Fun. Yeah, he's finally gone. You get the resolution of the boyfriend, the girlfriend, which gets dragged out as well, because it's like, honey, you can't come with me. And she's the most emotionally invested character I have in this movie.
She's a human who went through all of this.
So much.
Could have died at any point just for this guy.
Yeah, and the guy's like, you can't come with me. You must stay. I have to take care of the Nightbreed. And she's like, bitch, I am ride or die.
Walk away?
She literally is as ride and die as you can get.
And Juliet's it hard.
Yeah. It's full on. Like, she's like, bro, if I'm not gonna be, like, living with you with the Nightbreed, I don't want it. And he's like, oh shit, okay, well, I guess bites her, turns her into a Nightbreed. We get nothing more than
we don't get to see her cool power.
Yeah, she just is resurrected now, which is even more disappointing, because it's something where
she did so much through the movie. It would have been so cool.
Honestly, that whole thing of turning her into a Nightbreed, I think the movie works better that she just goes with them as a human, because then it's like, okay, cool, we're doing a little bit of, like, cross-factionism.
Well, she's the exception to the rule, and that's like what I always think great characters are.
Yeah, and instead what it became is, oh, you can't come with because of arbitrary rule that honestly could be broken, and maybe that's a growing point for these characters. Yeah, it's just...
He's just like, nah. Like, this guy just keeps leaving this chick for, like, no reason.
Yeah, so, no, I will lead them to a new home. No, you can't without me. All right, well, fucking, I guess I'll turn you into a Nightbreed. Like, it could have just been as simple as you either turn her into a Nightbreed or you accept her for who she is, which I think is kind of the emotional, like, the main theme of this whole movie is accepting people as they are. Like, I think if you wanted to get to, like, this elevated, okay, what does it mean? What does it all mean at the end?
He just has a weird idea of how relationships work. Like, it's like in sickness and in health.
Yeah, it just, there's so many things where it's like, this is the theme. This is what this is about. All right, and then everything with their relationship just completely ignores or negates that fact, almost. So very disappointing in that sense. And then you get, the multiple ending syndrome of, okay, serial killer fight, check, dead. Midian, blown up. Escalated, the Nightbreed god is gonna nuke himself entire. Okay. Resolved. It's not as bad now.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. The priest who was thrown in for some reason also now became a Nightbreed.
Yeah,
and
he
also
ended up down in Midian at one point and got burned by some weird stuff.
Like acid goop green.
Now he looks like a Star Trek alien.
Yeah, ends up killing cop guy. So
sheriff of the nearby town.
Yeah, sheriff bad dude is now gone.
And he now hates the Nightbreed because he doesn't like what he got turned into.
Honestly, I'm on his side for that, but yeah, like, why would
it was his own fault?
Yeah,
he spilled it in his own face. They didn't like throw it at him.
Yeah, like, hey, dumbass, what?
Don't touch stuff that's weird monsters use in religious ceremonies.
Yeah, they're all in a barn now. The boyfriend says no to the relationship. The relationship with the girl says, "Well, then I will die," and then it brought him back. And then they are like making out on the ground, silhouetted, like it just. But we don't have. I think a big part of this movie is there needed to be more of that emotional investment in this is insert person's story. And I don't think it has.
It really reminds me of the end of Lord of the Flies in the book where like you really start to lose track of what's going on because it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like characters are randomly teleporting around.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. Like, I don't know if it's like the same in the actual book of Cabal, but
yeah,
they really seem to, the end kind of
just continues, just scatters. If they did
the happy ending.
Yeah, if they did a Lord of the Rings cut where we get like Legolas goes back to Legolas goes back to the forest, Gimli goes back to the mountain. Like if they did that in Lord of the Rings, I feel like that would lessen it, and that's what they did here to some extent. So big picture, like we've gone through the big pieces of the plot. Themes, thoughts, etc. I do think the idea of this theme of like acceptance, like this is something that we didn't really touch on much, but I do think it's very much there. This feels like a movie that is made for, again, like people that are outsiders, are carnies at the Oregon Fair, Renaissance Festival, like things like that of that nature. But I think it misses its mark mostly because of our two main characters. Our favorite character, who's our Jack Nicholson, Jim Carrey, campy, out there wannabe, ends up dying like realistically.
Decker cuts his head off
just in the beginning of the final battle stuff,
where he's facing off with Moon.
Yeah, and we were just like, oh. Well, great. like his head is just like yeeted at some point, I think, and it's just like, cool. Well, you just made the movie worse. You know, like it didn't make me hate Decker anymore. It just made me more mad at the movie, and I think that might show that this needed a little bit more rewriting or restriction on, hey, focus on the plot here.
What strings from the book can possibly be cut so the ending can coalesce in a more
and
proper manner.
Yeah, and one of the things we were talking about is like this movie feels like it would work really, really well more as a miniseries than a single film. We kind of ironically, we were comparing it with Andor and with Rogue One. In Andor's sense, it feels like it's getting the most bang for buck for its production value. The costumes are awesome. The effects are cool and crazy and out there, and it feels very realized in that sense.
When you're going to get a lot more than 2 hours to get this whole thing out.
Yeah. And with Rogue One, because it's something that is condensed into a single film, we have all of these characters, and they're quirky and they're individual and they're played very well and so on and so forth. And they kind of embrace what they are within this story. However, it's hard to walk away from Rogue One and know the names of the characters because you just go, oh yes, the blind guy, Chirrut Imwe. The blind guy is the one who's like with the Force and he's down for it. And then there's, I think the guy's name is, and then I think his friend is Baze Malbus, who has his own character arc in Rogue One. And it's like, yeah, big machine gun guy who like finally, like he's like, I am one with the Force is with me. Like, gets a super badass moment. It's spoilers for Rogue One, but like, it's something where you walk away from Rogue One and all of these individual characters have such great personality and depth to them, and we get to explore none of it, and we barely remember any of it because we don't get to know like any 2 or 3 of them that much better. We're finally kind of addressing Cassian's problem as like the secondary I didn't even know lead.
When Jordan's like, there's an Andor series, I'm like,
yeah.
Andor.
Yeah, Cassian Andor. Yeah. Cassian said I had to, says K2SO. Like, okay, yeah, it's clicking. Okay, he gets a show? Sure. I guess, why not? It's a prequel. But, like, we're just getting around to, like, fleshing this person out so that he's a little bit more involved and emotionally invested in as an audience. Like, that's something that Rogue One suffers from. This movie, same deal. It's something where, cool, like, all of these guys look crazy, look awesome, look very unique from one another. You get hints and pieces of, like, these subtle storytelling things. Like, God, like, we didn't even mention when they first show up to Midian, there's a bald dude who has a dog. Like he's there this entire time and then blows up, and it's supposed to be really emotional, and I don't care. I laughed.
Know his name.
Yeah, the music is sad, and I'm just like,
he has tattoos over both of his nipples.
And then he actually explodes, blows up, and I went, oh, okay.
He's dead.
I guess he blew up. Like, that's something where I'm laughing when I should be sad. I'm disappointed when I should be invested. It's so counterthetical to itself. It gets in its own way. And one proposal as to why this is the idea of the gruesome twosome is what we labeled it of
Clive Barker and David Cronenberg.
Exactly, where these guys are well respected for their craft in this time frame, so it kind of feels like with the prequels,
from Hellraiser, scanners, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and it feels kind of like with Star Wars. George Lucas makes the original trilogy. He is now a god amongst men. No one will ever like criticize, say no, what have you to
even
what his endeavors are.
A lot more than just George to make those films what they were.
Exactly. Like Empire Strikes Back. Everyone regards it as their favorite Star Wars film. George didn't even direct it. It's Irvin Kershner. And he took what George had and elevates it. And it's something where we gave all the power over to Clyde and to Cronenberg. Like, they get all of this accessibility, capability to do what they want with it. The problem is that it's never reined in to make it a fully fleshed thing. It's kind of
and I think it's more just they have so much budget, they have so much time. It's 2 hours. They don't feel like they need to get in anywhere quick, and by the end of it, they didn't. They got nowhere with it.
Like, yeah, they have all this bang for buck, and they managed to accomplish.
Whereas you take like nothing. Hellraiser, which is a very low budget film, shot all in the same building for pretty much the whole time. It's way better realized just because of the fact, limitation breeds innovation, and I need to hit these beats. We need to cut these characters out because that's also based off a book.
Yeah.
So
which at some point
cut more out.
Yeah.
Which helps the film make.
And at some point, like, I'll have to watch Hellraiser. I know, here's the thing, I know it exists because it feels so much more like cemented into the cultural zeitgeist.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Pinhead's always one of the classic like killers.
Yeah. Like, if you're gonna have like some horror movie villain reference, Cabin in the Woods, there's a like Hellraiser-esque guy that's just in this movie that is a love letter to all these horror movies. Like,
Scary Movie's got the one where he's hanging out with like Freddy and Michael and all them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's listed as kind of like, it's one of those things where it's one of like the classic things.
Kind of like the Universal movie monsters.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like
it's on that level. And it's something that with this movie, we got an icon and they went, all right, we trust you implicitly, it feels like, and then we realized, oh, maybe we needed to, like, it's one of those things where you kind of need that criticism to construct better And if all of these people are like, yes, you are awesome, like you do a great job, but no one like pushes back at any point, you kind of need that conflict a little bit of, all right, so in Hellraiser's case, budget, you only have so much budget, so you got to get done what you got to get done. In this case, it feels like they just kept going with it, and the scope of the project gets bigger and bigger, and then it inflates until eventually, well, we got to release it out. Yeah, so like, yeah, it's something else. So ultimately, what do we think? As we were about to dip into the plot, as I was saying, I do think it's worth a watch. And I think a watch is the extent that I would put on it. I wouldn't necessarily be upset if it's on in the background, if it's, I don't use cable, but if it were ever just on a TV channel and I'm flipping through, it might be one of the options where I sit there and just let it roll. But I really don't feel any inclination to watch it again, because I just there's no emotional connection that wants me to go, man, that was something else. It really is just do I want some eye candy for costuming, prosthetics, so on and so forth? Yes, cool, this is a great example, and you can kind of get that just by watching clips online or like looking up photos of it.
I would definitely say this is a Connor movie, and that is not...
Sure.
That does not mean it's a good movie. It's just a movie that has things that it's shot in Canada. So when I moved up there, I was watching a lot of Canadian stuff, so I just naturally ran into it. I love the prosthetics. I'm a huge David Cronenberg fan. I'm a huge Clive Barker fan. So it's just like fun to see, especially David Cronenberg playing a character. Like, there's lots of anecdotal things to make this very fun for me, but that is a very specific and niche thing that, like...
Yeah. It makes sense that this
very
is
specific to me.
This is only as far as culty, and I don't even think it gets as far into the cultural classic stuff as something like Labyrinth, because again, we have emotional beats that carry, because there's a lot of arts and crafts wonders in Labyrinth.
Well, and you've got Jim Henson's work on the Muppets kind of styled characters in that.
Yeah, it's a different flavor, but the same idea of look at professionals being awesome at what they do.
It makes sense that Jordan knows about Hellraiser and not Nightbreed.
Yeah. Yeah, there's good reason for it. Yeah. So, unrelated, this was kind of a first of our we're in October, and thus we're going to touch slightly spookier topics. We'll see what happens next time. Yeah, until then, Connor, where can we check you out?
Always on Narratives and Nonsense here on YouTube, and a 5-String Connor on YouTube if you want to see the random video repository that I keep.
And then if you want to see more of me, Connor and I, we post here Monday evenings every week for the most part. And then
man is the post-production.
Yeah, I do a lot of
I sit here and make stupid faces.
But you're my friend. High five. Nice. So that's, if you want some more podcast content, here we are. And then I also do some streaming on my channel, Gillidan for the Win. That's usually Wednesdays we play Kingdom Hearts. We're taking a little bit of a break because I got some life stuff happening. We'll talk about that later. And that's pretty much the extent of it. Until then, everyone have a good week. Check out if you want to listen to one of our other weeks. We disappear. Woo!